Greetings, YouTube. Um, there's a channel here on YouTube called Primitive Technology. The guy's got almost 2 million subscribers, and he's never spoken a word. All he does is demonstrate how a human being, with the right kind of information, can build the technologies of survival with literally nothing but his own hands. He walks into a rainforest. I think it's somewhere in Central America, with nothing but a pair of shorts. No tools, no additional clothing, a pair of shorts. And he builds himself a shelter, fireplace built into it, has a garden. He shows how to make containers, both of woven materials and ceramics. And the latest video, which is what inspired this one I'm making now, he shows how to make a bow-driven bellows for forcing air into a furnace which is hot enough to get metal ore to produce actual metal, to actually process ore to get metal. And he's done this with nothing but his own hands. He is literally playing real-world Minecraft, walking out there naked, building everything he needs to survive. And the shelter he builds has solid walls with no holes and a roof that keeps out the rain. So why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is the perfect example of why the static... I have a cat being a pet. I have a cat being a pain. Why the static technology and setting of Fallout is so incredibly silly and absurd. Because everyone loves the post-apocalyptic aesthetic. They love it, and I completely get that. But looking at it in a video game makes it so blaringly obvious that it's just absurd. You look at this and you're like, this is 200 years after the war? This looks like it was 2 months after the war. There is no way that the world would not have been rebuilt by now. And this guy shows you how one guy can rebuild the technology to build functioning shelters, tools, a garden, without any technology to aid him. And in the Fallout universe, you've got technology everywhere. You have so much, so many materials you can scavenge from the environment. There is wood, there is metal, there's ceramics, there's wires, and there's car parts, and there's electricity everywhere. There are so many generators that still function. And all those workstations you have, those are machine shops. You could rebuild everything that we have in the 20th century with one of those workshops and one power source. If you have a lathe, you have as many lathes as you want. A lathe is a self-perpetuating device. You have one lathe, you have the ability to make 2 lathes. But you now have the ability to make 4 lathes. You see where this is going? And if you can build a lathe, but you've got the second one producing more lathes, you take the first one and you build yourself a mill. And once you have a lathe and a mill, there is almost nothing you can't make or modify to make motors and vehicles and weapons, armor. The technology is just lying there to be used in Fallout, and so much stuff to scavenge. There is no reason that anyone lives in a shelter that has holes in the walls or the ceiling. None. Other than the post-apocalyptic aesthetic is so strong, people are willing to put up with that. The setting is presented in Fallout, again, that looks like the war happened 18 months before. 200 years ago, out? Remember, 200 years after the apocalypse is the Star Trek setting. That's an example of what you get. And I know people are going to say, well, there's radiation everywhere. And the radiation would not keep functioning like that, I'm telling you. it would not still be there. Even if every item in the Fallout universe prior to the war was powered by some kind of nuclear source, 200 years later, it would still not have enough radiation in the atmosphere to cause radiation storms every 4 to 5 days. There just isn't enough nuclear material on the planet to do that. I love the aesthetic. The game is awesome, but it's silly. And I have listened to people defend that aesthetic over reality again and again and again and again and again. And this channel here on YouTube, Primitive Technologies, and I will link to the video I'm talking about so you can go look at it and subscribe to this guy. He is awesome. It's just the final nail in that coffin. There is no reason that Fallout has not rebuilt itself completely. There's no reason that the entire Fallout universe doesn't look like the Institute. Doesn't look like doesn't look like Star Trek. There is no reason at all. It shouldn't look like that. Other than we love the post-apocalyptic aesthetic so much that we are utterly willing to ignore it. Reality. Now remember, I love Gamma World, a universe that is just as silly as Fallout, where entropy is plastic. Some things break it down over time, some things don't. I get that. But seeing it with my eyes shows how silly it is. It just makes no sense. And I guess what I really would love, I would love for people just to say, yeah, you know, you're right. We love the aesthetic over sense. And I'd be okay with that. If you tell me, just flat out, if somebody says, yeah, I love the aesthetic in Fallout, that's awesome, and not defend it, I'd be happy. Yes, I know this is very pedantic of me. I'm nitpicking. I'm being very nerdy and geeky here. It's the defense of the setting that drives me nuts, not the setting itself so much. And I do like to poke fun at it because it deserves to have fun poked at it. But I also wanted to link to this guy's channel because he's awesome and he's close to 2 million subscribers. Let's push him over the top, man. He really deserves it. He does awesome work and he's showing us what a human being can do. And it's a reason that humans are at the top of the technical food chain. And this guy's doing this alone. I think how much more could be accomplished if he had a community with him, where you had multiple people doing things. Some of them over time specializing, which is where we end up having a functioning society with jobs and vocations and such. You didn't have to be generalists after a certain point because people got good at certain things. This guy's good at making stone tools. This guy's good at making ceramics. That guy can thatch like nobody's business. That woman over there, she knows more about how to plant a garden than you will ever know. So we did this. We created all of this out of stone tools and mud and grass. And we should be proud of that. And we should be proud of the fact that we would bounce back from anything that doesn't completely wipe out the human species. As long as there's enough of us to breed a population, we would overcome it. And the whole idea that we wouldn't, I think, is silly, and it's an insult to our species. And I've rambled on enough. Go check his channel out. It's cool, and Fallout is silly.